Hi everyone, today we're going to be solving AQA GCSE Biology Foundation Tier Question Paper 1F. In this particular video, we're solving June 2020 and we're going to be solving the entire question paper. This question is about cells. Figure 1 shows a cell. We can see a loop of DNA. That means this is a bacterial cell. What type of cell is shown in figure 1? So definitely we're looking into a bacterium cell. How can we tell? We can see there is a cell wall and we can see there is a loop of DNA present. Plants and animal cells have their DNA is bound by nucleus. Since we do not see any nucleus, so we can say this is a bacteria. Figure 2 shows an algal cell. We can see cellulose cell wall, nucleus, cytoplasm, and chloroplast present. What is the function of the cell wall? Now, the first option given is it contains genetic material. We know that cell wall is made from cellulose, so it does not contain any genetic material. To stop the chloroplast from leaking out, now cellulose cell wall does not prevent any chloroplast from leaking out, or for that matter, any content from leaking out. To strengthen the cell, yes, this is the correct answer. Cellulose cell wall increases the strength of the cell. Similarly, how a tire strengthens the tube that is within the tire. For a particular car tire, if you think of that, or a bicycle tire, there is a tube inside it. The tube is very soft, but it is strengthened by the tire. Similarly, a cell membrane is very soft. It is strengthened by the cell wall. The algal cell is green. Which part of the algal cell makes it green in color? Now, we know that chloroplast contains a particular pigment called chlorophyll, which is green in color. Chlorophyll is a pigment. It's a protein which is green in color. Cellulose is not green in color. Cytoplasm or nucleus, none of color. So it is the chlorophyll that makes the algal cell green in color. Cells contain subcellular structure. We have to draw a line from the structure to its function. So for example, cell membrane. Now what is the function of the cell membrane? We know that cell membrane controls the entry and exit of substances within the cell. So it will be the first option. Mitochondria. Now mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, so thereby mitochondria is where energy from glucose will be released. Ribosomes. We know that ribosomes are mainly responsible for making proteins, so ribosomes are where proteins are made. Now the other options where glucose is made. We know that glucose is made in chloroplast and where photosynthesis takes place, which is also going to be chloroplast. So since this was not in the structure, so they were not the correct options. A student prepared a microscope slide of chick cells. The student looked at one cell using a microscope. The figure 3 shows the image the student saw. What should the student do to get a clear image? Obviously, we can see that this particular image is a fuzzy image. So fuzzy image needs to be made clear. To make it clear, the first option is adjust the focus knob. Correct. If we focus it, then we will see it better. Now the next two options are make the light dimmer. Then if we make the light dimmer, we are not going to see it. Then put water on the slide. Putting water on the slide will not decrease the fuzziness. It is adjusting it with the focus knob, decrease the fuzziness, and a clear image will be viewed. The student then obtained a clear image. Figure 4 shows the clear image. We can see the clear image in figure 4 with sections A containing the nucleus and B containing the entire cell. Measure the length of nucleus A and the length of cell B in the millimeters. Okay, now guys, definitely you can do this by using a ruler. In this case, the length that we find is 15 millimeter in the case of A, and for B it is 60 millimeter. Now the question says how many times longer is the cell B than the nucleus A? To find it out, we'll have to divide 60 by 15, so the answer is 4. So it will be 4 times longer. The student looked at another cell. The image width of the cell was 40 millimeter. The real width of the cell was 0.1 millimeter. The student was asked to calculate the magnification. Remember, magnification is given by the formula. Magnification is equals to size of the image, which is 40 millimeter, and divided by the real size of the object, which is 0.1 millimeter. Once we divide it, then we get 400x. This question is about cell division. Which process makes two identical new body cells for growth and repair? When making identical cells, the process will be mitosis. So it will be mitosis. So let's look at the other options. In the case of fertilization, we have to understand that when egg cell meets the sperm cell, that we are going to call fertilization. In the case for differentiation, we have to understand that when a stem cell is converted into a normal body cells, which we call somatic cells, cell, in this case, let me give you an example. For example, when the stem cell turns into a skin cell, then that will be differentiation, meaning forming a specialized cell would be differentiation. Figure 5 shows the 3 stages of cell cycle. We can see stage 1, 2, and 3 shown in this way. Let's see what the question asks. Draw one line from each stage of the cell cycle to what happens during that stage. So we can see first of all the stage 1 being mentioned. Okay, so in stage 1, now let's not get confused in this particular stages. What do they mention here? All right, probably in stage 1 the cell is growing, the cell is doing its own function. In stage 2 probably the cell was multiplying, replicating, all right, that the DNA content within itself. And in stage 3 it was undergoing mitosis. That would be our general assumption. In stage 1 we can see the cell grows and the chromosome replicates. So if the cell grows and the chromosome will multiply in that stage, in stage 1. In stage 2, one set of the chromosome is pulled to each end of the cell. When that is done, the cell is actually preparing itself for cell division. All right, it is undergoing mitosis. And in stage 3, what we see, the cytoplasm of the cell membrane divide to form 2 new cells. So this will then lead to formation of 2 new cells. What percentage of the total time for the cell cycle is taken by stage 1? So when we take into consideration in terms of stage 1, we can count the number of pi's that we have within it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in total. And out of that, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it will be 7 over 10 and multiplied by 100. This will give us 70%. A cell divides to form 2 new cells every 24 hours. How many days will it take for the original cell to divide into 8 cells? So it divides into 2 cells every 24 hours. So every 24 hours means 1 day. So within the first day, we're going to be able to go from 1 cell to 2 cells, and in the second day we will be going from 2 to 4, and on the third day we are going to be going from 4 to 8. So we need a total of 3 days. The chromosome contains genetic material. Name the chemical which the genetic material is made from. Now we know the genetic material within any organism is made from DNA. So we are going to write DNA. Full form of this will also be accepted, which will be deoxyribonucleic acid. However, remember that this is an accepted answer. Writing DNA will be better for you. The genetic material is made of many small sections. Each section codes for a specific protein. Now, you see a section. Let's say this is a chromosome, all right? And a section of that particular chromosome will be referred to as a gene. So what is one section of genetic material on a chromosome called? So definitely that is gene. Now, what are the other options? The other options are gamete. Remember, a egg cell or a sperm cell, all right, they are called a gamete. So they cannot be the answer, all right? And nucleus, and you know that nucleus consists of all chromosomes, so definitely it will not be the answer. We know all chromosome will contain all the genetic information needed by that organism, so gene will be the correct answer. Now, stem cells are cells which have not yet been specialized to carry out a particular job. Bone marrow cells are one example of stem cells. Explain how a transplant of bone marrow cells can help to treat medical conditions. Now, to treat medical conditions, bone marrow cells, since they are stem cells, they have the ability to differentiate into many other types of cells. So we will be able to cure diseases where new cells are needed. The example of the diseases that we can cure will be, for example, leukemia, all right, or blood cancer, or we can, cure diabetes. This will be as an example. The human body can defend itself against microorganisms that cause diseases. Viruses are one type of microorganism that can cause disease. Name one type of microorganism that cause diseases in humans. Do not refer to virus in your answer. So you know that bacteria can also cause diseases and protists can also cause diseases along with fungi. So any one of them will be. Which two defense system prevents microorganism infecting the human body? Now, the first option is air is warmed as it is breathed into the lungs. Well, when the air is warmed and breathed into the lungs, it gives us comfort of that warm air being breathed in along with the moisture that comes with the warm air. Hairs on the skin trap microorganisms. Now, our skin by itself is a barrier, so the hair on the skin is not as important. Hydrochloric acid is produced by the stomach. Yes, definitely this acts as a chemical barrier because hydrochloric acid will kill any bacteria that comes in contact with it. Teeth in the mouth crush and kill microorganisms. Well, microorganisms are too small to be killed by the teeth, so that's not going to be the answer. The skin is a barrier covering the whole body. Unless there is a tear in our skin, we usually don't get any types of bacteria, viruses, fungi, or protists entering our skin just right through the skin because it's a very good barrier. If microorganisms enter the human body, the immune system can destroy the microorganism. How does the immune system destroy microorganism? So the options are platelets kill microorganism. Platelets are needed for blood clotting, so they cannot kill microorganism. Red blood cells stick to the microorganism. Red blood cells are responsible for carrying oxygen, so they also cannot kill microorganism. White blood cells engulf the microorganism, which is correct. White blood cells engulf the microorganism and digest them just like food and kills them in the process. Makes them it makes them totally usable in our body as well in the form of food. Vaccinations prevent people from becoming ill with diseases such as measles. Now we have to use this word and complete the statements. In a vaccine, the measles virus is definitely the vaccine must have a weakened measles virus. Otherwise, we're gonna get the disease. If the measles virus enters the body after vaccination, the immune system reaction will be fast. How is the measles virus spread from one person to another? Now, measles virus can spread in many different ways, but one of the easiest way is by coughs and by sneeze. We can also write by droplets in the air. Doctors investigated the spread of the virus that causes chickenpox. The first symptom of chickenpox after exposure to the virus is spots on the body. 23 children were playing together at a party. On the day of the party, one of the children developed chickenpox spots. Every 2 days after the party, the doctors recorded when the other 22 children first showed chickenpox spots. So we can see day when chickenpox spots first showed, alright, up until 18 days we can see spots. Alright, and it increased from 10 days to 14 days, and then the number of spots showing decreased as well. What was the range for the days on which children first showed chickenpox spots? So we can see that we started seeing from day 10 and we saw up until day 18. Incubation time is the usual time for exposure to a pathogen until the first symptoms appear. Suggests the most likely incubation time for chickenpox. Well, we can see the majority of these children got that chickenpox on day 14. So we can say day 14 days. Suggest one reason why some of the children did not develop chickenpox. Maybe they have developed chickenpox earlier and they are immune to it. Maybe they have been vaccinated. So since they are vaccinated or they have got it before, so they are immune because their body already have antibodies. All right. Or maybe they did not play much with the infected child at all and they did not get the virus in their system. They did not get enough virus within their body which could develop to the chickenpox. So all of this could be a possible answer. However, only one of the point is needed by the examiner. I'm going to give you all of the options. One mother gave antibiotics to her child who had chickenpox. Suggest why this child did not recover more quickly than the other children who had chickenpox. Antibiotics are effective against bacteria. Antibiotics do not kill viruses. A 45-year-old man exercised on a rowing machine for 6 minutes. A fitness monitor recorded his heart rate and breathing rate every minute. Figure 6 shows the result. So we can see time in minutes on the x-axis and rate per minute. And we see that the breathing rate, it plateaus, alright, to about 50 breaths per minute, 4 minutes and onwards. And heart rate plateaus at 140 beats per minute at 5th minute and onwards. Let's see. The question asked us describe the trend for breathing rate shown in figure 6. Now when describing for the trend for breathing rate, we can say that the breathing rate increased at first, alright, until 4th minute at 50 breaths per minute and then stayed constant from 4th minute at 50 breaths per minute onwards. The safe maximum heart rate for a person exercise can be calculated using this equation. Safe maximum heart rate is equals to 220 minus the age in years. So calculate the safe maximum heart rate for the man. The man in this case is 45-year-old. So we have to do 220 minus 45, which gives us 175 beats per minute. What is the man's maximum heart rate? From the graph, we can see the man's maximum heart rate is 140 bpm. The man concluded that he was exercising at a safe heart rate. Give the reason for his conclusion. The man sees that his heart rate is lower than the maximum safe rate, so he can conclude that he is safe. Explain the ways the man's body has responded to the exercise. From the graph, we observe that the man's heart rate has increased, which is mainly due to increase in blood flowing in his muscles to provide the extra oxygen to the muscles and provide extra glucose to the muscles, and also to remove the carbon dioxide that is produced more quickly from the muscles. The breathing rate has increased so that more oxygen can supply to the lungs, and so that more oxygen can be absorbed into the blood and more carbon dioxide can be taken out of the blood. More oxygen is supplied to the muscle because of the increased rate of respiration, which will then provide energy for the muscles contraction. Anaerobic respiration also occurs due to the lack of oxygen, which causes a buildup of lactic acid and may lead to muscle fatigue and oxygen debt. So, after 4 minutes when the person's breathing rate, or after 5 minutes when the person's heartbeat doesn't increase any further, person, if continues to do intense exercise, may still build up more and more lactic acid. Figure 7 shows part of a deadly nightshade plant. We can see there is poisonous berry, and then we can see the leaf. How will the poisonous berries help the deadly nightshade plant to survive? Since the berries are poisonous, it will stop herbivorous animals from eating it. Which type of defense mechanism are the berries? So the berries are a form of a chemical defense mechanism. They are not mechanical because they are not like thorns or spikes, and they are neither physical. Figure it shows some part of gorse plant suggests how the gorse plant is adapted to defend itself. You can see the gorse plant have big spikes, so they have thorns in them to stop herbivorous animals from eating it. The green leaves of the gorse plant make glucose for the plant to use. What are the two uses of glucose in the gorse plant? Now, glucose can be used for the plant for respiration, obviously, and it can also be used to store as a starch. The other options are for defense. Well, glucose is a food source, so cannot be used for defense. To absorb water, increasing glucose concentration can disrupt other metabolic processes within the plant, so it cannot be increased in concentration within the plant to increase amount of water. To release mineral ions. Glucose does not contain any mineral ion, so the answer will be for respiration and to store as starch. A student wanted to show that the leaves of the gorse plant contain glucose. The student crushed the leaves to extract the liquid from the cells. Describe the method the student could use to test the liquid from the cells for glucose. Include the results if the glucose is present. To test for glucose, first of all, we need to understand that glucose is a reducing sugar. Since it is a reducing sugar, so glucose has the ability to convert copper 2 plus, which is a blue color ion, into copper plus, which is a orange or brick red precipitate. So because of this particular change, we will be able to detect the presence of glucose. So what we are going to say, the answer is going to be like this. Add Benedict solution to the liquid and then boil the solution. If glucose is present, blue color will change to orange or brick red color. The roots of the gorse plant have bacteria that turn nitrogen into nitrate ions. Explain why nitrate ions are needed by the gorse plant. Nitrate ions are mainly needed for making proteins, or we can say for making amino acids, which are then needed to make proteins. The proteins are needed for growth, and the proteins are also enzymes, and proteins are needed for making new cells within the plant. The roots of gorse plant can be infected by honey fungus. The honey fungus produces tiny spores underground, suggest how the honey fungus spores travel from the root of an infected gorse plant to the root of an healthy gorse plant. The soil contains water, so in the soil water, spores can travel. A drug can be extracted from gorse seeds. Doctors want to trial the drug from the gorse seeds to see if it can treat diarrhea. Which two factors must the doctor test to the drug for the trial? The doctor needs to test the dosage of that particular drug and also needs to test it for its toxicity for that particular drug. However, the appearance and its solubility and taste of that particular drug will not be of the doctor's main consideration. So dosage and toxicity. In the trial, some patients will take tablets made from gorse seeds and some patients will take tablets made from sugar. What are the tablets made from sugar called? So tablets that are made from sugar, they are known as placebos. Painkillers are a type of medicine that are needed to basically remove pain. So painkillers, and then antibodies are basically, they are responsible for destroying any particular virus or a type of bacteria, and antibiotics are responsible for killing bacteria in general. So placebos will be the one that we call when it is a sugar tablet. Blood is transported around the body in blood vessels. We draw one line from each type of blood vessel to the structure of the blood vessel. So for example, if you have artery, you need to know that arteries have thick muscle tissue and smaller lumen. So this should be artery. When it is capillary, capillary is only one cell thick, and in the case of vein, we have to know that vein have very large lumen. The lumen will be very large and it will have very thin muscle tissue and elastic tissue. Explain how the structure of an artery is related to its function. The artery consists of thick muscular wall. The thick muscular wall is, it can push the blood all around the body. It also has thick elastic walls which can withstand high pressure and maintain high pressure. The artery have narrow lumen which allows it to maintain high blood pressure. Figure 9 shows blood viewed through a microscope. We can see red blood cell and a cell labeled A, which in this case we can see a white blood cell, and B, which is in this case platelet. Name A and B. A red blood cell has no nucleus, contains a red pigment called hemoglobin. Suggest how this adaptation helped the red blood cell carry out its function. Since the red blood cell has no nucleus, has more space for hemoglobin, and hemoglobin can carry that oxygen, alright? And the hemoglobin that it contains, it can bind to oxygen and carry oxygen. The blood components are carried around the body in the liquid part of the blood. What is the liquid part of the blood called? Now, the liquid part of the blood is called plasma. Alright, let's see the other options. Alright, we can see the cell sap. Now, we know that cell sap is basically the content within a particular plant cell, and there is saliva. Saliva is the liquid secreted in our mouth, and then urine. Urine is basically the liquid produced by our kidney, the filtration of the kidney. So, the answer will be plasma. Table 2 shows the results of a man's blood test. We can see the red blood cell count, lymphocyte count, neutrophils and platelets count, and the normal range is provided. Which component of the man's blood is not within normal range? So we can see that for the patient the platelet is 50, whereas it should be between 140 to 400. So we can say platelets. Suggest symptom that the man might show. Because platelet is needed for blood clotting, so the man might have continued bleeding, or the man might receive more bruising in his body. This question is about photosynthesis. We need to write down the word equation for photosynthesis. Guys, this question is very common and you better memorize it for your answer, because every term this particular question comes. So we're going to write carbon dioxide plus water produces glucose and oxygen. Describe how energy for photosynthesis reaction is gained by plants. Plants absorb light by using chlorophyll or chloroplast within its cell. Students investigated the effect of temperature on the rate of photosynthesis. The student shone light from a lamp onto pond wheat and measured the volume of oxygen produced per hour. In test 1, at 20 C, he got 18.5, and then as he increased the temperature, he got higher and higher volume until 30 degrees Celsius. And at 35 degrees Celsius, up until 45, the volume started to decrease. And then the same is applicable for test 2 and test 3 as well. So let's see the question. Calculate the mean value x. So for mean value for x, we need to see if there is if the data from this particular test 1, 2, 3 has any anomalies. So we can see that the data does not have any anomalies. They are very close. So we'll just add all three of them and divide it by 3. So the answer is 19.1. The student identified one anomalous result in table 3. We have to draw a ring around that anomalous result. Anomalous result is a result that does not fit the trend. So we will look into all of the sets of data that we have, and we will see whether there is any data that does not match the trend. And when we find a data like that, then we will simply take it out. So in this particular test, if you notice, on 45 degrees Celsius in test 2, we have 14.2, which does not match the trend. So this must be the anomalous result. Suggest one possible cause of the anomalous result. Because the question says suggest, so we can write one of these particular possible answers. For example, maybe the student have read the scale mistakenly, or maybe the light was moved further away or further close to the experiment. Alright, maybe the temperature changed within the experiment and was not 45 degrees Celsius. Alright, maybe the pond wheat did not acclimatize properly to that particular 45 degrees Celsius. So we can comment in this way. However, I believe the best answer for this particular question should be maybe the temperature has changed or the scale was misread. How did the student deal with the anomalous result? Well, the student rejected the anomalous result and did not use it for calculating the average. Give one factor that the student should have kept constant in this investigation. The student should have used a constant light intensity or a constant carbon dioxide concentration, or the student should have used the same amount of pond wheat or the same species of pond wheat within this particular investigation to make the investigation fair. Guys, you will have to write only one of the point. Temperature in degrees Celsius and rate of photosynthesis in cm cube per hour. If the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius, in test 1 we got 18.5, test 2 we got 19.3, and test 3 we got 19. And why did the rate of photosynthesis decrease from 35 to 45 degrees Celsius? So from 35 to 45 degrees Celsius, we could see that there was a decrease. But why did it decrease? Because this is at a high temperature. Maybe the enzymes within that particular bond group, cell, they denatured. So the proper answer for this would be the enzymes lose the shape of the active site at higher temperature. Complete figures 10 using the table 3. Label the y-axis, use a suitable scale for the y-axis, and plot the mean data from table 3 for temperature from 25 to 45 and draw a line of west cube. So we have already the x-axis done for us. Now the y-axis would be the average. So mean, we'll write mean rate of photosynthesis in cm cube per hour. And then we'll have the values. When doing the scaling, we must take into consideration that we do the scaling in such a way so that we cover at least 2/3 of the graph when drawing the graph. So for 20 degrees Celsius, the value was 19.1. Then we are asked to draw a line of west feet, so we'll have to draw a curve. Diffusion is an important process in animals and plants. What is meant by the term diffusion? So diffusion basically refers to the movement of particles from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Figure 11 shows part of a leaf. We can see stomata. Then we have molecules of carbon dioxide that diffuse from the air into the mesophyll cells. Which two changes will increase the rate at which carbon dioxide diffuses into the mesophyll cells? Decreased number of chloroplasts in the cells. Because we say that there's increased rate for carbon dioxide diffusion, decreasing chloroplast will require less carbon dioxide, and thereby this is not going to be the correct answer. Decrease surface area of cells in contact with air. If we decrease the number of cells that are in contact with air, then less carbon dioxide will be taken by the plant. Increase carbon dioxide concentration in the air. So yes, if the carbon dioxide concentration outside in the air, outside the leaf, it increases, then CO2 diffusion inside the leaf will inside the leaf mesophyll cell will increase. Definitely. Increased number of stomata that are open. Yes, if more stomata are open, then more carbon dioxide will be able to enter the mesophyll cells and enter the airspace near the mesophyll cell, and thereby they can diffuse into the mesophyll cell. Increased oxygen concentration in the air will hamper the absorption of carbon dioxide concentration, because the increased oxygen concentration will dilute the concentration of carbon dioxide. Diffusion also happens in the human lungs. Figure 12 shows human breathing system, and we can see a capillary where it is next to an alveolus, and their blood cells are flowing through that capillary. Explain how the lungs are adapted for efficient exchange of gases by diffusion. So guys, this is a 6-marker question. We will have to write: lungs contain many alveoli which provide large surface area compared to the volume. The capillaries are thin, which provides short diffusion pathway for oxygen and carbon dioxide. The breathing mechanism moves air in and out of the lungs, so the lungs have fresh oxygen and carbon dioxide is constantly removed from the lungs. There is a large capillary network around the alveoli. That means oxygenated bloods are removed quickly and deoxygenated blood are brought in more quickly. This maintains a concentration gradient between the alveolar air and the blood. Figure 13 shows a root hair cell, and we can see the root hair cell contains a very large protrusion which increases its surface area. Water molecules are denoted by dots and nitrate ions are with cross. Name the process by which water molecules enters the root hair cell. Movement of water across a partially permeable membrane is called osmosis. Nitrate ions need a different method of transport into the root hair cell. Explain how the nitrate ions in figure 13 are transported into the root hair cell. We will have to use the information for figure 13 in our answer. The name of the process, we can see there is a higher concentration of nitrate ions inside compared to the outside where there is a lower concentration. So the name of the process should be active transport. Now the reason for this is because energy is needed to move nitrate from a lower concentration in the soil to a higher concentration in the root cell. Guys, that's the end of this particular question paper. Thank you for watching the video, guys, and guys, best of luck for your exam. See you in the next video. Bye bye.